And listen, I don't always, forget this much of the time. I can be really hard on myself. So I've learned most of this the very hard way. And I'm still beginning to learn it. It's just caring for yourself, being your number one ally, not like you're blind to your flaws, but like you love yourself like you do the people in your life, even with your perceived flaws, because what's a flaw to one is an asset to another. Just pursuing contentment and creativity from that place rather than I'm not enough. Oh my God, they're better than me. I need to get on it. No, no, no. This is good. Now, where do we want to play?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by Crazy Ant Media. Today, we'll be talking about trying to normalize the conversation about mental health. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and father-in-law, Dustin, and then, of course, a returning guest and friend, Delana. And today's going to be a very special episode because we have the one and only Jennifer Hale joining us today. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you guys?
Living the dream, as we always like to say.
That's
Living
what
the
we
dream.
love to hear. That's what we love to hear. Excellent.
Delana, are you speechless or are you okay? How are you doing, Delana?
I am wonderful. I am great, guys.
All right. We're just making sure before we get into this thing because, okay, all right.
I'm good to go.
Well, this is going to be a really interesting conversation because, Jennifer, on top of all of the accolades and just the amazing career that you have, probably the most recognized voice actor of our generation for sure, and just all of the things, you are a very strong advocate for mental health, and emphasize the importance, especially with individuals working within our industry, how important it is to safeguard that mental health and pay attention to it and the circle that you surround yourself with. And so we're really excited to talk to you as somebody who has navigated the career so successfully and has balanced the mental health and I'm sure at times have seen challenges. So let's dive into it. First of all, I think we need more people like yourself in the sense of, because mental health has always had a stigma attached to it where people are, I don't want to talk about it. I'm nervous. I don't want to say I'm having a problem because somebody might think something differently of me or somebody might alienate me this way or that way. Let's start there. Let's talk about the stigma that's been attached to it and how things like this, shows like this, or vocal voices like yourself and others who have started to move that in a different direction.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I go with what feels logical to me. Because the truth is, it's amazing the level of cultural denial we live with. I'm fine. It's all good.
Yes.
Meantime, people are internally unhappy. Their bodies are expressing, mental health issues physically through, certain diseases and things that will come from stress and come from an internal imbalance. It doesn't necessarily cause it, but it can make it a lot worse. And I think of it like sports. Like, okay, you could get a coach to get you through that hitch in your swing or that problem with your throw or what's going on with your running, but you're like, no, I'm good.
Right.
Why would you not? Why would you not? Like, people don't get embarrassed. Like, my throw is off. I'm just going to hide. No one's going to care about me anymore. Like,
exactly.
No, just go hello. You've got a broken ankle. Let's set it and fix it. And I'm always a fan of a shortcut. I'm like, if there's a quicker way I can speak to someone who knows about this, excellent. And the other thing talking about it does is it just today, today I happen to be in the middle of some significant challenges. And I called a friend and I was like, okay, you're a really logical person whose opinion I trust. This and this and this is going on. And because we also forget, I think friends are such excellent tools to remind us, like, yep, that's normal. That's human. And that was the first thing she said. She's like, oh yeah, that's human. I was like, right. Because especially now with social media, right? We spend so much time looking at everybody's highlight reel. And so we sit here mired under our own raw footage. Like, oh, that's just the highlight reel. That's not actually real.
Yeah.
That's just somebody's snapshot of the moment. And then we feel like something's wrong with us. And for most of us, like, there's nothing wrong with us. We're just being human inside of a machine that profits from convincing us that we should be better or different.
And Delana, I know you can speak to this a little bit too. And I'm glad you brought it up, Jennifer, because it's a snapshot. It's a highlight reel. And yet that's what most people compare themselves to. That the comparison game starts. I'm not living up to them. I'm not doing as well as they are. When in reality, that as well as they are might not be so great. You're just seeing the highlights of what could be a much expanded life, right, Delana? So talk about that a little bit and your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are places now like Skills Hub, for example, where you can find community. But starting out, you don't know about all of these different places like the Discord servers or Voice Acting Club. You don't know about those places. So you're like, oh my God, all I have to go on is social media and what these people portray that voice acting is supposed to be. For example, you'll see all of these ads like, oh, you can make $5 by voice acting. This one commercial, you just gotta take this like $500 module or course.
Yeah.
And we're so wrapped up in what other people are doing, and we don't know where that community is. And I'm so glad that in recent years we have that community now.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for pointing that out. I mean, skillsub.life, like for me, because, the site started with my idea. And then the reason it started was isolation. And I got sick and tired of recycling my own point of view, auditioning by myself, especially during the pandemic. Like we used to go into rooms with other people and we'd get feedback and connection and we get, some tiny form of connection and sometimes even validation, but that's not their job. But then everything became you do it at home. And I got so tired. I just wanted 10 minutes with someone I trust. I didn't need an hour of private lessons. And that's how we started. And then we found all these new people that were feeling so lost because they'd take a class, but they didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And we really want to shine a light. Like it's not you. You haven't been given the information that moves you forward. So, we collect that information. But one of the things as the founder of the site, that was really important to me is that we do a few things. We normalize sometimes the journey's hard.
Yes.
Normalize the less fun parts of it because it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It is just how it goes. We give tools. It's important to give people tools what to do with that. Not just go, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, yes, and here's some habits that if you want to choose them, you can get out of this. Like we have in our practice portal, we have a couple different meditations that I've recorded, like morning and night. Just do those and they'll start making you feel better, And not that they're there to heal you, but like they're going to normalize your experience and give you a sense of like, okay, I have some agency here. I can influence this in a positive way. And the other thing I wanted to do is like I have a class called Started. It's a 5-week class. And I build some habits in there that are very specifically and exclusively mental health oriented, but they're not dressed up as that. They're dressed up as simple exercises. As part of, we have another practice in the practice portal is called 5 minutes a day. And there's some really specific elements in there that you have to do. And the purpose of those is to build an internal mechanism for self-validation. Because when you go out in this career, you pour your soul into a character, into a take, and this is what you hear back.
Oh, yeah.
At best, you hear, thank you.
Yeah.
And what we will fill in that void is all kinds of negative stuff.
Right.
It's a knee-jerk, like, oh, wasn't enough, wasn't a comparison. I like, oh my God, the festival of suffering that ensues. So what I've done in these exercises is intervene immediately with purposeful habits to install to create mental health. Like it's really important. And that's not just in my class. I've made it available in the free practice portal now, but like it's really important to take control of our experience as artists because we often create in a vacuum unless we're working with other people on a film or a podcast or an audio drama or a project. We're often, and now more than ever, there is so much money to be made off of selling us on the notion that we just need this thing. We just need to take that class or, this program or that thing to be better, to be
Right.
better. And one of the things that we do is we sell like where you are now is right on. And, and we really built it purposefully. And this is, I think, to counteract this whole notion that you need to get this now. It's got to be this way. Like I was really intentional, like, no, it has to fit your life, your income, your schedule, your responsibilities. I mean, some of our members, some of these people, some of us in this community, like we're full-time single parents or we're caring for aging people or, we have other circumstances. We work 3 jobs just to not quite get by. We have to take into account the whole ecosystem that we operate in. And the other thing is, like, we really drill in on take control of your definition of success. It's one of the most powerful things you can do if you're running around feeling unsuccessful. We've had these stories for generations. Remember the ugly duckling?
Oh, yeah.
Failure as a duck.
Yep.
Friggin' God as a swan.
You're right.
Like, it was a swan god. Like, what? That's amazing. Just in the wrong pond, looking at yourself through the wrong lens. And I think
Yes.
that is so important. Take control of is your definition. Because I don't believe in defining yourself and rewarding yourself based on outcomes. I believe in rewarding yourself based on input. And we've designed everything that way. Like, did you show up? Well done. Like in my Start It class, we have this thing where we declare at the end of the 5 weeks, we declare a 90-day goal and what defines success. And what defines success, I will never allow it to be an outcome.
Right.
It has to be input. How many times did you show up in this forum, this part, and this part? Great. And then we even do a thing 4 weeks after the end of the class where I go back and meet with everybody and I go, okay, you set these goals for yourself for how many times you're going to do this, and this. Now what happened when real life showed up?
Right.
And
Right.
we will not define that as a failure. What I want to teach people is that's where you renegotiate. So perfect. You want to you said you were going to practice 5 days a week, but yet, you work from 9 to 6 and you got to cook dinner and do all these other things. Was that realistic for you? Do you want to renegotiate that? And some people will double down and go, no. I'm like, okay, I can't be with that level of not making the numbers I said. I have to renegotiate. I go like, okay, I'm gonna go for 3 times, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's about being human in this. And what matters the most is your life, because I love the deathbed lens. I love it so much. Because newsflash, you're gonna die. Like nobody's getting out of here alive. Like no one gets out alive.
That's right.
What's gonna matter to you at the end? Is it gonna be I achieve this one more thing, or you know what? I set that aside and I sat with my friends during this moment, and I will never forget that.
Ooh, wow. All of that very enlightening and very just the positive notion that you're pushing forward and building your community that you are and holding each other accountable too, because I feel like when there are certain instances where you are trying to achieve a certain goal, you kind of take a left turn or you get off the path that you are trying to take, and that does knock you down mentally. Sometimes, if a health problem does pop up, something that's completely out of your control just pops into your life and knocks you down and feel like you can't achieve what you set out to achieve. And Dustin and myself know that from experience. We're trying to get our second film underneath our belt, and we have some health stuff going on. I just got married last year, a whole bunch of financial stuff happening at the same time. So being able to continue moving forward, but also holding each other accountable, I feel like is very important. But the impact that you make, that we make with our community around us, I think is one of the most important things, because once you show people that you are a part of each other's tribe, I think that's when, true success in everybody's life starts happening, and you are starting to see things moving forward and having the wheels keep turning. So I love that you bring that up, because if you don't feel like you have anybody in your corner and you're not self-motivated, then things start to dwindle down the line. So I love that you brought that up.
They do. And we've installed specific, we have these things called workout rooms, and they're free spaces. Anybody can put one together, and you just get together, and people are learning Mandarin or creating audio plays.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
Practicing game stuff. But one of the ones that we've put together on, it's on our side, on the creators, on the admin side, I guess you'd call it, is we have a free workout room every Tuesday and sometimes on Saturdays where a coach will show up for free and talk you through your career goals, your accountability, your check-in, and those questions are really specific, and they start with, okay, does your goal still fit you?
Right, right.
You know, and it's a free thing, but it creates both the accountability and the humanity at the same
Yes.
time. They
Yes.
have to be there together. And I love that you said, you know, everybody succeeding together, because that is one of our foundational values is all boats rise together. Like we
Yeah.
all
Oh,
work together.
yes.
Yeah.
And I love a couple other things that you mentioned in there, and I think it's really important that you said it's not wrapped in mental health. I think
Yeah.
that's extremely important too, because you know we talk about this all the time on this podcast, our other podcasts, just in life in general. It's difficult sometimes to just sit down with somebody and say, "Hey, I'm going to talk about mental health today. I'm really dealing with this issue." But
Yeah.
if it's not approached that way, if you're addressing it, but you're doing it in a manner that's not wrapped up in this is what we're discussing today, but you're addressing the mental health issue in a way that informs or entertains and starts a conversation, that's where the key is, right? Is getting the conversation started, no matter what the trigger is. If you're doing it as a series of goals you're trying to achieve, or habits you're trying to form, whatever it gets to start the conversation and the ease of comfort for somebody to feel comfortable enough sharing what they're sharing and talking about, right? Because nobody's just going to sit down and say, I thought about suicide today. I lost somebody and it's really hitting me hard. Those aren't conversations that you just typically sit down and have. But if
Yeah.
something inspires you to have that conversation, that helps. So I love the fact that you are putting modules together and putting things together and building community where it's not necessarily, we're going to talk about this today, but you're
Right.
getting there. And
Yeah.
that's so key.
Yeah, well, it has to be presented in a way or offered in a way that's palatable, and everybody's different. You know, I
Exactly.
was talking to an adolescent yesterday who there was a death in the family, very normal, very good long life, but it was their first time walking through going to a funeral, and they were shut down. And I just said, and the way I would do it, I would talk about it, I would talk it out, but they do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, how are you feeling? Fine. Okay. Are you having feelings? And so I just want to check and see if you're having them and that you're okay having them. You don't have to talk about them.
Yep.
Just want to make sure that you have the space to have your own feelings. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And then you got to respect it and also some people don't want the heavy delivery. They need the light delivery. And
Yep.
some people need the heavier delivery. Everybody's different. And it's about, I think it's so important to be sensitive to what do you need right now? I mean, some people want a hug, some people want to talk, some people want space, like leave me alone. Everybody, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. I think
Exactly.
just normalizing it. Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Completely agree, because I mean, you talk about the importance of, approaching people the right way and having the right phrasing about certain things, because I know from personal experience, I like to sit down and get into the nitty-gritty and just dig it out. Let's just have this conversation where we're going to yell at each other, we're going to cry at each other, we're going to hug it out at the very end. But I know my wife, Dustin's daughter, is more, she needs a distraction first before we have that conversation. We need a distraction so we can
She
end up
does.
on a lighter note and then go back and have that conversation and talk about how we dealt with things in different ways. So I think that's very important. And when it comes to family members, do you have any advice on, how to approach people about mental health, or how to approach people about, hey, the way you said this kind of bothered me. Is there something, that we could talk about? Or like,
I
how do
know.
you approach your own family members in certain situations like that?
Yeah, I certainly don't feel qualified to give advice. I can share my experience.
Oh,
There we go.
absolutely.
My experience is, keeping it about me. I'm feeling this. I love Brene Brown's thing. I'm making up a story that this is happening.
Yeah.
Like I had a moment this past weekend. I had just done something very cool I haven't done in a long time. And as soon as it was done, I had a complete panic attack. I was like, oh my God, I'm sure I screwed that up some way.
Right.
And I ended up on the phone with the person I had done that with. And I said, I'm really glad to hear your voice, because I was feeling quite anxious and making up that I had screwed everything up, and they were like, "What?" And I was like, "I know. Thank you for reminding me that that's crazy. I really appreciate it." But it's not like you didn't say this, so I felt this way. No,
Mm-hmm.
my feelings are my job. They came from me, from my enormous, past experiences. All of ours do.
Yep.
So owning your own stuff, and also, this is huge, especially in modern times. Remembering that you quite often are probably not right
Mm.
about the way you remember it and
Mm-hmm.
about what you're seeing. Like we can see this slice of the pie and we're like, oh no, it's this. And this person's
Yes.
over here going, no, it's this. And we're both right, looking from a different space. It's
That's right.
curiosity and openness. And I know the minute I am dead certain about something, I'm learning to get very suspicious
Mm.
because there's something I'm missing. Like if you look at, I'm going to pull out a hot potato here. The last election, there were
Mm-hmm.
people very much on this side and very much on this side. And I think one of the good things I realized is if you're on this side and you're mad at this side for doing what they did, that's
Right.
millions of people who went this. And you're like, wait, no, this. You can't look at them like they're all crazy and wrong.
That's right.
And so I think it's important to stay in curiosity and go, okay. What had you decide that? What
Mm.
is it in your world that's the answer for you? So what do you think that solves? And what you can find your way to that I discovered is you actually agree on what some of the problems are.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just how to solve them, you have a different approach.
Love that.
Different approach, Yeah,
It's
and there's common ground. If I had a magic wand, the only superpower I would wish for would be the ability, and this includes me. And there's some stuff that I'm really having a hard time with some days, and I'm like, I just want to be right.
yeah.
Where you tap by the wand, and the people you disagree with most, and you're the angriest at, you can instantly feel their experience, where they're coming from, and why they feel that way.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You can still disagree with them all day, but you can't hate them.
Everything about that, you just put that on a loop and have the whole world hear that, because you're absolutely
frustrating.
right. It is.
It
But
is.
you nailed it. You brought it right to the center of the truth, which is, if you would just sit down, have the conversation, and look at the other person's point of view, you would find out you have a lot more in common than you do separating. And it's just learning to see the other person's point of view and why they feel the way they feel. You probably want the same thing. You're just coming at it from two totally different ways because your life experiences have been totally different. Your views on how things you've been through have been totally different. Doesn't mean I hate you or you hate me. It just means we have a different thought on what we agree on.
Exactly.
But the
And
problem
how are
is,
we defining success in this equation? Are we defining it as winning our point, or are we defining it on connection?
yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Connecting with the other person authentically and going, oh.
Mm.
And I think, we're sort of in this teenage phase culturally. We're like, no, I won.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
that wasn't success. What was the price of
Yes.
that win? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Which many people think is giving in, which that whole binary, like zero-sum game. And it's evolving out of that into what is your definition of success? What is it? What is it? Where does it sit?
Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely. And having conversations, I feel like where you want it to be a safe space can sometimes be very difficult, specifically in like work environments. Because I know, obviously chasing the dream, attempting to be a filmmaker and making everything happen, but also still having to do the day job. And so a lot of that like carries over into what I'm trying to do with, my overall life and my expectancy and my expectations of what I want out of my life. So I feel like when it's a bad work environment and it carries into the home life, it definitely makes it difficult. And especially like I know on our first set that it was a lot of sunshines, a lot of rainbows, but then there were some certain things where I felt like, that's not necessarily the same vision that I have, but I felt like there was no conversation about it, so I felt like I took it the wrong way. So a good work environment is also a good way to continue moving forward both home and at work. And I feel like sometimes that gets lost in translation, right? Where you don't feel like you're connecting with the people that you're attempting to make beautiful content with, a beautiful project with, but then you end up carrying that into home life. So it's hard to balance that. How do you balance home and work life when it comes to mental health?
Whew. Transition time and slow down.
Mm.
Slow down. Like when I start, when a spin happens, and like right now, I'm juggling a lot of plates that
You are.
happen to
Mhm.
turn into be jagged plates today.
Yeah.
Very jagged today. So I just have to slow down, and I have to also not buy into, because I tend to globalize. Like when things really hit the fan, I'm like, everything sucks and I'm failing at
Same.
everything.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I have to not believe my own press. Like give room for the emotions, that energy and motion to go and do its thing, but also have a piece of me that sits back and goes, okay, that is also fiction. And so it feels really accurate. This is a feeling right now, and feelings are not facts. Remember, it's slowing down, and it's that zoom out. In
Right.
6 months and 6 years, is this going to be a crushing thing? What
Mm.
size is this going to be in 6 minutes? What size is it going to be in 6 days? What size? And also trusting this thing where everything is always working out. I love this thing. I think it's from the Don Juan books. Everything is now, always has been, and always will be just fine.
Yes.
Mm.
I love that.
At the end of the day, that's from the teachings of Don Juan. It's really, gosh, and I don't know. I have such conviction in my perspective, but I don't know. We can perceive 4% of all matter that exists,
Yep.
and we can see 0.0035% of all the visible light spectrum, and we think we know. We're blind mole rats going, we know, we saw it. I'm like, really?
Facts.
Okay.
Yeah, someone came up to me the other day and was like, Delana, you have a habit of turning your hobbies and things you love into work. And I held on to that, and I'm like, I thought about it all day.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I love to write. I turned that into writing a book, and now I'm working on the second one.
Yes.
And I'm trying to learn how to play the lute dulcimer, and I'm like, wow, I could really like do this, and like I could post videos about this when I'm like really good. And then I got in my head and I'm like, oh wait, I'm turning this into something bigger than what it is. It's kind of like a mom buying her daughter all volleyball themed things for her
Right.
birthday because she's into volleyball.
That might just be the way you roll, and you might inspire people with that. And when you're done with it, you're done with it. Like allow yourself to be how you are. This is the thing, like it makes me think of judgment. Like judgment is so interesting. Feeling judged, I'm getting quite fascinated by, because you could judge me about my hair, you could judge me about, things about the way I live, what I eat, etc. And I'm like, because I don't judge myself.
That's right.
The minute I feel judged by somebody and it gets me, it is a massive screaming flashlight to show me where I'm still judging myself.
Yep.
Because as soon as I don't care about it, you can't get me on that topic. You just can't get me.
That's right.
It's very interesting, that whole equation. Yeah.
And it's interesting how it balances because, we started the conversation basically talking about self-validation. And then we're talking about don't judge yourself, right? And there's a fine balance between validating how you feel and validating yourself and your worth and what you're doing and not judging yourself when on certain things that you like you said, down the long road, looking at the picture ahead, 6 months aren't big deals. You're fine. You're going to be, and so I love that. I love how you brought it full circle to validate, but don't judge.
Respect and
exactly.
Care. Respect yourself and care for yourself. It doesn't mean you buy all your BS. And it doesn't mean you're mean to yourself when you catch yourself in your BS. You go, oh, wow, I'm doing that thing that we all do.
Yes.
That we all do. And listen, I don't always, forget this much of the time. I can be really hard on myself. So I've learned most of this the very hard way. And I'm still beginning to learn it. It's just caring for yourself, being your number one ally, not like you're blind to your flaws, but like you love yourself like you do the people in your life, even with your perceived flaws, because what's a flaw to one is an asset to another. Just pursuing contentment and creativity from that place rather than I'm not enough. Oh my God, they're better than me. I need to get on it. No. This is good. Now, where do we want to play?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know any better way to end the conversation than right there. That was absolutely amazing. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show and having this conversation with us, taking time out of your busy day, like you said, the rigid plate of the day. But you are
Yes.
doing amazing. You are a beautiful soul, and again, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. It was so lovely to spend time with you, and thank you for having these conversations.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's because of people like you. You know, it's because of people like yourself who inspired Logan to think that we could do this and have conversations and be okay. You know, I think I'm thankful every day for you, for Logan, and for people like you guys because I used to compartmentalize everything. I can't talk
Yeah.
about that. Are you kidding? I'm no way. Especially publicly. Are you nuts? And then
Yeah.
and yet here we are. And we joke all the time that it's our bi-weekly therapy session and it's the greatest thing that's happened to us. So just yeah, thank you. Continued success on all of your ventures, everything that you're doing and just in life in general. We couldn't
Thank
be
you
more
so
happy
much.
for you.
You guys
It was
as well.
so nice meeting you.
So nice to meet you, Delana. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, what an amazing conversation. Probably our biggest Everything's Okay podcast guest of all time so far. And I mean, what a beautiful soul, though, just to come on and talk about her experiences and to continue moving forward in all of these different ways of life.
Well, and I love that she said exactly that. I can't say that I'm certified to give you any advice, but I can share my experience. And if I can share my experience and that gets you somewhere, good. I like the realistic approach to it, right? None of us claim. In fact, we say it all the time. This podcast, we are not mental health experts. We are sharing our personal stories and our experiences in the hopes that you too have maybe gone through something similar and our stories and sharing can help. And that's what it's all about, just having these conversations and sharing experiences and helping each other out, right?
Absolutely. And beautiful souls like the wonderful Miss Jennifer Hale have built these communities
Yes.
almost from the ground up
Yeah.
to like make these workshops and be like, hey, you want to talk about something? You want to join us today? Like making everyone feel like we're in a community instead of just lonely little hermits in our booths made out of moving blankets and PVC pipe.
That's right. That's right.
It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. As always, this podcast is dedicated to anyone who has ever faced or is going through an uphill battle with mental health. It is quite a journey. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to us, please reach out at info@crazyantmedia.com. And we would love to take your comments, come on the show, do anything. We love having a conversation about mental health. So please be sure to do so. And always remember, everything's okay.